record button. Why am I asking you to do that?
Absolutely, yeah. So look, just in case, something happens and you do miss a session, or if you can't make a session or you miss one, we do record all of our online webinars and we will upload them onto our learning management system. That will be available a couple of hours after the session ends. So if you do miss anything, or you have to run off 10 minutes early for an appointment, or you want to catch up on some information, we will have them available to watch back on our LMS. And yeah, Ken, why is there a content warning there?
Yeah, so we do show some crash scenes, nothing graphic, but just trying to learn from crashes that have happened to try to prevent future crashes. So if that's something that could trigger you for some reason, I'll let you know when a crash scene's coming up in the slides, but as I say, nothing too graphic. So let's keep ticking along here with a bit of admin. And yes, who are you, Marissa?
Hi, my name's Marissa. It's nice to virtually meet you all, even though I can't see you, but you can see me. I work in training here. I'm a training coordinator for Safe Systems Solutions. I'm very much behind the scenes, helping all our courses tick along and get online and live and in person and so on. So if any time during the session today or any of our 5 webinars in the next few weeks, you do have any issues, if you can't make a session, any technical issues or logistic issues, please you're welcome to pop it in the chat or shoot us an email. You would have received a few emails probably from us, either from my personal email or training at Safe Systems Solutions. Shoot us an email or pop it in the chat. I'm happy to address any of your concerns or anything like that. During the session here, if you do want to chat to us, we do have our chat function or our Q&A function also. So just pop anything there in the chat. You can either chat to everyone, as you can see here where our arrow is. You can either chat to everyone, or you can click on that blue down arrow there and you can chat to either myself and Ken alone. So any issues, just please pop it in there and let us know. If anything fails with your tech or your internet, often a shutdown and reboot will fix everything up, or we do have our presentation that will be available on the LMS. We've got our slides up there if you do happen to miss anything. So you won't, nothing to stress about missing any information there. And yeah, have I missed anything there, Ken?
But I think you've done a good job, but I think you have to explain what this LMS thing is to people.
Yes, our fantastic LMS. Our LMS is our online platform, our learning management system. So we'll run you through that probably a little bit later on, but we're going to have all of our resources on the LMS for you, presentations, and our recordings will pop up there. We'll have, some quizzes that you can complete, or you'll need to complete at the end of each module. And a couple of assignments here and there, one which we'll probably run you through today a little bit later on towards the end of the session. And you should have received all your login details by now. Hopefully you've all had a chance to jump in and log onto the LMS. If you haven't, or if you haven't received that email with your login details, please let me know either in the chat or shoot me an email and I can help you get access there.
Wonderful. Thank you. And yeah, I'll just reiterate that you can't pass this course without access to the learning management system. So make sure you get access there. Do use the chat. I'm loving to see already we're getting people introducing themselves. There was the opportunity to introduce yourself in the learning management system as well, but I'm liking to see that. We do miss out on that casual chats over lunch and morning tea that you get in an in-person training here. So we try and get a little bit of that going on the chat. So thank you for getting involved in that. Now I know many of you, and I've worked with you or run other training courses with you before. And as I say, some of you I don't know yet, but I'm looking forward to getting to know you. But my name's Ken Beer. I'm the principal engineer at Safe Systems Solutions, and that's my colleague Jamie Robinson. He's our technical lead. Jamie will be running a little bit of the content. I will be running the bulk of the content for this course. Before started Safe System Solutions a decade ago, I was in the Victorian government, and one of my functions in the Victorian government was to manage road safety auditing and all of the policies and reviewing audits, doing audits, and lots of different aspects of road safety auditing, and then also involved in the training as well. So then I left and I retook it on, or continued to take it on. There's a little QR code to my LinkedIn. If you'd like to connect with me, we can continue the conversation. I put out bits and pieces on road safety engineering, road design, road safety auditing, and try and sort of, keep that conversation going within industry. Any questions about the content of the course can come through to me, and anything about the management of the course, logistics, the admin side can go through to Marissa, the training team, the training at safesystemsolutions.com. So somebody will certainly be able to help you. Now, this is our friend Wally the Wombat. So Wally the Wombat warning sign there is going to appear a certain number of times in each module. And we do this as one of our many ways to try to keep you engaged in the content of the course, because we know that online learning it's very tempting to be doing that, doing the emails on the side, or to be doing that roundabout design, or whatever it is. But we're going to try and keep you engaged. This is one of our tricks. You've got to keep an eye out and count the number of times you see that wombat warning sign during the session, and that'll be one of our end of module quiz questions, which you will be marked on.
So note Wally's down.
That's right. Tom's onto it. No, that's 0 Wallies. That's just an example, Wally. But it does bring us to the fact that there are some competency benchmarks to set. And so, Marissa, we're going to ask them to come to at least 4 out of the 5 live webinars. We'd love you to be a 5 to interact. And they need to complete all the set tasks and 80% pass mark for anything that is marked. And that's quizzes. So at the end of each module, there is a quiz, so 10 or 11 questions, and you've got to get 80% or above, and the assignments. And we've got 2 assignments for this course that you'll be doing. And we need you to get 80%. So they will be actually marked by a senior road safety auditor. Could be myself, could be a colleague who will read your audit findings and give you feedback. And it is a training course, remember. So we want you to learn from it, take the feedback on. You have 3 attempts at everything. And we have one-on-one coaching available from those senior road safety auditors and experienced auditors. So if you are really struggling with anything, you can organise a one-on-one Zoom catch-up or a phone call or shoot through an email, and you'll be able to get coached to bring you up to that competency level. So I'll just check a couple of other things there, Marissa. Why are you in a prize pit? It looks like you're at the fair or something.
Can you see Superman behind me? Or let's pick one out of here. Oh, why am I in a prize pit? Well, we're in a very interactive session today, so we're going to be throwing lots of questions at you, and anyone with the best answer wins a prize. So Ken will be throwing lots of questions at you all and looking for your engagement, and we'll be mailing out some lovely prizes at random. What have I got here? At the moment I've got a lovely bowl of Mentos, so maybe a pack of Mentos, or box of Mentos for you. No, I'm joking. It's not going to be a pack of Mentos, but that's why I've got the prizes around me. I'll be recording who's lucky enough to win themselves a prize. So keep that engagement up, and we look forward to seeing all of your responses and chats and answers to everything that we throw at you today.
That's right. So type it into the chat when I ask you for things, and Marissa will be keeping a track. She's got everybody's name, and she'll be putting little marks next to your name, and that will win you prizes. And as Marissa said, we will post you prizes at the end of the course, however many you've collected. That'll be a little bit better than Mentos, I assume. Yeah, you'll get a hard copy of your certificate as well. You'll get an electronic copy immediately after the course. Okay, I want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the varied lands on which we're running this training, and it's good to see we've got across different areas of Australia. We've got Victoria, we've got New South Wales, and we've got Tassie, we've got Queensland represented, and I think we might have South Australia, but I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember. Give us a little hi if you're from South Australia. But I acknowledge the traditional custodians of all those many lands we're running the training, and where I'm standing as well in I'm in here in Victoria.
We do. We've got Alex from Adelaide. You're right.
Yes, hello, Alex. Yes. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to start into some content, but at any point, please feel free to write your questions about the logistics, the management, the running of the course into the chat. Get your clarification from Marissa. As I stress, you need access to the learning management system. If you have not received an email from Safe System Solutions with access to the learning management system, get in contact now. You need that to pass this course. Okay, so road safety auditing. Okay, so this module, and when I say module, what I mean is one sort of 2-hour session here. I'm going to just get into defining road safety audits and putting sort of road safety audits into a bit of context. And we'll talk a little bit about road safety audits and black spot investigations and what's the difference. We're going to look at risk, and we're going to talk about risk and risk ratings. Then we'll talk about the safe system, kinetic energy thresholds, and some categorization of road safety audit findings. So we've got a lot to cover. Some of that's not going to make any sense to you at this stage. Don't worry, I'm going to take you through it step by step. This course follows the Austroads general syllabus for a road safety audit course. And that is all housed pretty much in the Austroads Guide to Road Safety Part 6, which is Road Safety Audit, which is this document here. I was the technical advisor to Austroads on that 2022 release of that document, working with a few people on that. There's been quite a series of these in the past, some of the superseded ones you can see there. But we will be following that process. And as a result of us following that and meeting those requirements, some of the things you said, sorry, Marissa, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, I think that might be, somebody's popped in the chat there, they're struggling to see it. If anybody else is struggling to see the chat, let us know, but I think that might just be somebody's individual connection.
On the Austroads Guide slide, Ken?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's definitely working for me.
Okay. Oh, and there's a question that's come in. I'm looking at it now. So it's all good for others. So maybe if you were seeing a black screen, maybe just close it and come back in. Was it 2022 or 23 version of the Austroads Guide to Road Safety Part 6? So the comment there has said Austroads Guide to Road Design. It's actually the Austroads Guide to Road Safety series, and it is 2022. So there was a 2023, the Austroads Guide to Road Design Part 6, which is roads and roadside management. But no, it's a 2022 version. So because this course follows that structure and meets some, we have those competency benchmark requirements. So we test you, we review things. The different jurisdictions accept this as an official course. So this course is accepted by the Queensland government, the New South Wales government, the Victorian government, and the South Australian government, and the New Zealand government. The Tasmanian government just says use the Victorian one, and the Northern Territory government says we'll take anybody's. Western Australia has a different process altogether. Okay, so this course will not get you eligibility to be accredited in Western Australia, but everywhere else you're fine. And of course, ACT. So this course overall, what we're trying to achieve here is to talk about the process of road safety auditing. And I'm going to underline that process. The process of road safety auditing, there is no possible way in this very short time frame that we can pass over all the sort of technical knowledge you would need to road safety audit. In fact, that's a lifelong learning journey. You're going to use your past experience, you're going to learn new things on the journey, and you can continue to build that. You're going to work with lots of good people in audit teams, and they're going to have ideas. But what we can instill in this course is, okay, what is the process to undertake a road safety audit? Then we're going to give you some basic skills. And we're going to do a few things. We're going to ensure that you look at your road safety audits through this safe system lens, and I'll explain that later. We're going to talk about common issues, and I'll just present some issues that I've seen a lot of in my many years road safety auditing and the colleagues have seen, and try and help you think about road safety auditing by looking at some of these common issues. We're going to ensure that you're thinking about all road users: cyclists, motorcycles, heavy vehicles, pedestrians, cars, micromobility. You know, we want everybody to be safe using the transport network. And so we don't just audit for one specific road user. Now, that being said, there's a technique that's a bit more focused on some road users, and we'll talk about that when we get to some other specific road users. We really are going to encourage you to be doing road safety audits or procuring road safety audits, because they are a really great tool to improve road safety, and we want to encourage that. And any questions you've got, of course. So, okay, this is straight out of the Australian Guide to Road Safety Part 6, which I showed you, which is a bit of a complex diagram. It's not too complex, but it's a bit going on here. What they've got here up the top is like road infrastructure life cycles. Like, you're going to plan a whole road network, or you're going to think about how do we, manage all of this. Then you're going to, come up with upgrade programs, and you're going to, select specific countermeasures. You're going to do some design work. Then you're going to build it. Then you're going to sort of have it just built, and you're going to have some looks at it and the like, and then you're just going to operate it and maintain it, right? So throughout all of that, we are injecting road safety in different ways. And this diagram sort of talks about high-level visions for safety and things like, principles that we try and follow, safe system principles. We think about movement in place or one network framework style stuff. Then we've got proactive techniques, and they're in the blue there. And that's where road safety audit actually fits, is a proactive technique. Predictive techniques are more where you're taking crashes into account a little bit. And reactive are absolutely crash-based. So reactive techniques are often what people, think about with road safety assessments, because they think, okay, there's been lots of crashes, or there's been a crash. Let's look at that and look at what happened, and then try to fix it. Proactive techniques like road safety audit don't require those crashes, because we understand that risk may or may not present itself in crashes. So don't ever get caught in that trap of thinking because an intersection doesn't have any crash history, it's not risky. It may be risky. It may just not have presented in crashes that are recorded yet. Okay. So yes, crash history. And if you have a very big crash history, it's likely that there is a high risk area there. But we certainly know that the statistical analysis of road trauma is that you can have dangerous areas, and it's just meant that there hasn't been something yet. Anyway, we won't get caught up on that, but I just don't want you to think that a road safety audit is like a crash investigation. I'll repeat that to you later. But we are just going to be focusing on this part of it. The road safety audit at different stages of a road. We do interface a little bit with this one, the Safe System Assessment Framework, but this is the road safety audit course. Okay, first thing, and the most common misconception about road safety audits or misunderstanding of a road safety audit is that people think that it is your job as an auditor to check that a design or a bit of road meets all the standards. And that is not what a road safety auditor does. Okay? And the reason for that is that we know that standards, meeting all the standards, does not necessarily equal safety. Why is that? Okay? So, you know, Austroads and Australian standards and local standards, like surely, you know, but the reality is here, there's a few reasons why we know this. Some standards have just inherent deficiencies in them. They've traded off safety for other purposes, mobility or other purposes. Sometimes two standards in isolation all look fine, but when you combine them at a site, things go bad. Okay? And another one is that there are many scenarios out there where standards don't exist. No, there is no standard or there is no guidance on that particular thing. It could be an innovation. It just could be an area that we've never, used that particular thing in that scenario, which is kind of innovation. But so there's many circumstances where meeting standards could be unsafe, and there's many times where there are no standards or guidelines to follow. And so our role as road safety auditors is not to go through checking for compliance with standards, but to stand back and look at what are they going to build or what exists there that could kill or seriously injure our community, regardless of whether it meets standards or not. And as a road safety auditor, I will happily write audit findings that absolutely meet a standard or a guideline, but I'm still concerned that it's dangerous. Also, there will be things that do not meet standards or guidelines, and I'm under no obligation as a road safety auditor to point them out. Often I will, because I can see an interface with a standard and a safety issue. But you're not under no obligation to do that if you don't believe it's a safety issue. So standards generally are a good starting point. And so we do look at standards and guidelines and we see, but don't have them driving your audit. They are a supporting part of the audit process. So if you can link it to a standards issue, you should, but don't be driven by that. So let's play that out with an actual case study here. And we see a bit of the public road network. Now, Marissa, I think I'm going to give a prize out for anybody who can tell me what road that is. And I have asked this in a road safety barrier design course. So if anybody has come to that, you're at a significant advantage. There we go. Edward is on it. It is Eastlink in Victoria. Well done. So first prize winner is Edward. So prize will be coming in the mail at the end of the course for you. Okay, so this wasn't that long after the billion-dollar road was built, and that barrier system there, let's say it's a test level 4 barrier system. Everything meets the standards and the guidelines. Well, it did at the time. Okay, everything meets the standards and guidelines. But that truck has breached that barrier system, struck the gantry, and killed the driver. So we've got a fairly new bit of road, but we've had somebody killed there not too long after it's opened. Now that's concerning in many, many levels. But let's hone in on this. Okay, why didn't that barrier stop that vehicle? Well, if we said it was a test level 4 barrier system, some of you may have a bit of knowledge on barrier systems. And I'm going to ask a question here. I'll give out another prize. If it's a test level 4 barrier system, it means that barrier type was tested in a test environment. It was tested in a test environment, 100 km/h crash, 25-degree angle with a truck, but the truck had a certain weight. So for a test level 4, does anybody want to have a guess at the weight that the truck was? And oh my gosh, we've got the correct answer straight off the bat. That doesn't happen very often in this course. Happens a bit in our barrier course when I ask that question. 10 tons is correct. 10 tons is correct. So that's looks like a username there, Marissa. You'll work out who that is. Yeah, so we can't reasonably expect a vehicle with greater weight than 10 tons to be contained by that vehicle if it's going to hit it around those angles. Now, so there's an example. I use this because it clearly met the standards of the time. But we've had a breach of the system, we've had somebody killed, and it starts to get even more worrying when you see a gantry like that and think about the potential of it coming across your carriageway. So what we're going to be asking you to do as road safety auditors is to be able to look at a design and start to ask those questions. What is that barrier going to contain? And do we expect a lot of large vehicles? Is it reasonable for us to question this? Do we need something stronger there? Do we need a higher containment barrier system? Now, don't get too stressed out and concerned if you go, I don't know barriers, I don't know test levels, I don't know what he's talking about. Okay. We audit in teams, and you're going to enter in as a road safety auditor. You're going to get mentored through with senior auditors. You're going to be part of a team, and you'll be able to pull in specialist advice. So the important thing for now is that you're asking the good questions. You're saying, well, what happens when a truck leaves the road? Is it going to go through that, or is that going to be good? And, those are good questions to be asking as a road safety audit. So that's actually the test level 4 test vehicle. That's what we would expect it. And that vehicle we saw back there is going to be much heavier than that, especially if it's got cargo. Let's do another little case study, because I think I'm really trying to hammer home this point of standards. It's not a check against standards. It's bigger picture thinking than that. So that one back there met standards. Let's have a look at this one here. So what we've got, some of you know this area. I'm using a couple of Victorian examples to kick us off, but we'll go other places, don't worry. We've got a massive new subdivision happening down here. Huge subdivision, apartments, townhouses, shopping centers, cafes. It's big. So they're building a new signalized intersection in here. We've got a bit of a duplication of the road happening as well, so an existing intersection here. So let's zoom in on this a bit. Okay, you can see down here, this is the new road that's being built, part of the subdivision. It's accessing onto this road with a bit of alterations. And you can see there that that little red square, if that was a car and say it was traveling at maybe 65 kilometers an hour, it's a 60 zone, but hey, that might be going a little bit fast. And they're ticking along and they're going straight through, and hang on, there's in a right turn lane. They're just going straight along. They want to go straight through there. So that's what we would call a trap lane. If you're in a lane and without you doing anything, all of a sudden you are forced into a turn lane that you didn't want to be in, that's what we call a trap lane. Trap lanes are something that is discouraged in guidance, but it is not, like, there is nothing here that does not meet a standard. Okay? Well, associated with that aspect of it. But again, we know that this is going to cause side swipe and rear end crashes around there. It's just, we know that. Now, our job as road safety auditors is to point that out. Now, for a job like this, the designer is going to know that they have designed a trap. Pretty confident of that. This is not some accident that they've missed. I think the previous one, it was more probably, it's just, they probably didn't think through the specifics of larger vehicles, breaching it, hitting those specific things. There would have been some thought of that, and there would have been barrier design. But this one's more of, it was a conscious decision. But why? Why would they build a trap lane? Why would they consciously build a trap lane? Well, because probably they don't have the land to be creating more width, to be doing this. There can be services, there can be cultural heritage issues, there can be costs, there can be traffic modeling challenges. Hey, it's not easy to build infrastructure, public infrastructure around roads. Many of you know this, you're heavily involved in it. It's hard, okay? But as road safety auditors, we get this certain luxury of saying, we're here to tell you about your road safety issues, okay? We don't need to be, we certainly don't say that that is not a road safety issue because it's hard to rectify it at their site, okay? It is identified in an audit report, it is flagged, and you put it out there. Now, we certainly, as road safety auditors, try to then help the designers and the engineers in ways to lessen this risk, to remove it and the like. But if it's there, you say it regardless of how annoying it is going to be for the project team. That is your role and your responsibility as a road safety auditor. All right, I'm going to give you a little exercise to do here. Before I do that, then, Marissa, I will see if you've got any questions for me, but I'll explain what we're going to do. I'm going to play a crash here. It's, again, as I say, nothing graphic, but there is a crash that's going to come up. Now, a road safety audit is not a crash investigation, so that's not road safety auditing. But what we're looking for are, what are the features of the road environment? What are the characteristics of the road environment that may have influenced this crash happening? What features are there that may have made it more likely for this crash to happen? So, Marissa, were there any questions before I play this little video?
No questions. We do have a comment from Paul. On Eastlink, surely heavy vehicle percentages would be fairly high and fully loaded. Truck and trailers more likely to be 30 to 40 tons. Yeah, I think it's a really good point. And yeah, it shows you that sometimes these, standards or ways of operating and decisions made don't really counter or don't really aren't really thinking about the real world situation sometimes, or haven't taken things into account. And so road safety auditors are one of the ways that we can do that. These days, in most jurisdictions, you'll find the requirement for higher containment around gantries that can go over the road, especially, and
certainly, I mean, for a very long time, bridge piers and the like have been requiring much higher containment barriers around them, where there's that catastrophic failure potential. Okay, so let's play this little video, and then I'll get you to type into the chat things that you think would be influencing, influeing the crash. So we're looking at the back dash cam, and then we'll go to the front as this white ute passes us. Okay, so I'm seeing some answers coming in. I'm going to play it all again. And I want you to tell me the road environment. Not the driver behavior. Don't give me any of that. I want, what is the road environment characteristics that may have influenced this crash happening? Okay. Now, I should say, you're not being marked on anything that happens in this module live. You only get marked after the module where you have to do the test. So feel free to just have guesses at stuff. Okay, so Tony, maybe expand on yours a little bit. I'm interested in what you're saying there. I'm just reading a few things as they come in. This is good. This is a good group. We're getting some nice thinking. Yeah, okay. Great. Okay. Thank you to everybody who's been putting this in. It's going to be hard to pick who gets prizes out of this. There's one particular thing that hasn't quite been articulated exactly as I'd like to see it articulated. It says roundabouts are always the correct answer. Well, yeah, roundabouts is always a good place to start. It's not a roundabout though, if anybody thought it was a roundabout. So that's one interesting thing. And one of the things as road safety auditors is you need to get yourself in the driver's seat or the walker's shoes or the rider's saddle and try to imagine what they could perceive something as. So intersection form confusion is quite an interesting issue for road safety auditors, and we see it sometimes with configurations like this where people may be confused. Am I approaching a roundabout? Am I approaching a TC intersection or anything like that? Okay. Oh, so Edward so Marissa, I'm going to lump this on you. I apologize, but oh, we've got somebody else joining it. Okay. The illusion of continuity. So Edward's popped that in, and he said it looks like somebody else has popped that in. and I can't work out who that was beforehand. So I'll let you find that. But that there is this fundamental issue in this location of a see-through effect. I would call it a dynamic, not a dynamic, I would call it visual deceit. Okay. The road is, through its geometry, deceiving a driver that it continues on without their need to give way. And if you talk to human factors people, behavioral psychologists, they'll talk to you about some of these very subconscious things that go on in a driver's mind. And a run of power poles that run along there in a straight line, or a run of trees or street lighting like this that runs straight has a decent influence in a very subconscious that a driver approaching this will identify late that they have to give way, or they may not identify it at all. A see-through effect, an avenue tunnel effect, it's sometimes called. It's all part of what the industry generally terms visual deceit. The driver has been deceived by the road environment. So everything then from that associated with the discussion I was seeing around warning signs and signage and everything like that, we're trying to battle that geometric deficiency with a much lower order way of addressing signs, lines, warning, rumble strips, managing the speed on the approach. Anything like that is all going to be a challenge because people will be distracted. It might be dark. They might have had a few beers. They might, like you name it, they're driving in all sorts of conditions out there. And there's just that, slight bit of, geometric confusion there. So this is an overshoot crash. And when you have a see-through effect like that, overshoot crashes are what you would expect. That driver has not identified their requirement to give way at an appropriate point there. There is another type of crash called a restart crash. And a restart crash is where the driver is absolutely aware that there is an intersection and they have a requirement to give way or to stop, right? But they've made choices to either stop and made a bad choice of when to go, or they've made early decisions about going. That's where your sight distance comes into play. Like, do they have enough sight distance to make that decision appropriately? And a number of other sort of restart style decisions. So there are things here that are more influential than others. I think somebody pointed out, signs blocking other signs. Now that to me is not a big issue. Hey, I don't like it, and I'll point it out as a road safety auditor. But if we fix that, and so these signs aren't, blocking each other, we're not reducing the risk at this intersection much at all. Okay, it should be done, but we just need to understand that there are some bigger picture, more fundamental things. We would like to get rid of those. We could stagger this intersection. We could put a roundabout there, as was said before. It could be signalized. It could be better advanced warning. You could put mounds of dirt over the back and block that road off. There's many ways it could be lessen the risk. The practicality of some of them is questionable, but nonetheless. So then from there, we say, well, okay, that's interesting. We've overshot the intersection, and we as road safety auditors would love to alter this intersection so people aren't missing it. But then, this one's missed it, crashed, and hit this pole. But the pole seems to have broken away. Now, that was an absolutely intentional decision of a designer, and maybe a road safety auditor had some involvement in this. But that pole is designed to break away like that. And I would say in this particular crash, the decision to use a frangible pole, so that means to break away on impact, a frangible pole, has likely saved the life of this, this black driver, the black SUV driver. Because you can see there's sort of distance between that and that as to where they end up going. Or it's even further than that. If you know anything about kinetic energy management, you'll understand that you get some real benefits by dissipating your energy over time, and that's what it's done. That was a rigid pole. That energy would have been quick and hard, straight into the occupant of that vehicle. So that choice to use that slip-based pole has prevented a serious injury or fatality, in my opinion, there. So as auditors, we're not just thinking about how do we stop this crash. Absolutely, we're going to do that, and we're going to do it as well as we can, and we're going to give lots of insights into that behavioral psychology and the way people perceive things and make decisions. But we need to also get ourselves in the space of, okay, if a crash still happens, how do we make sure it doesn't result in death or serious injury? And it's just like this one, or even less, where they need to go to the panel beater, they've been shaken up, they're scared, but hey, they get to lead a normal, healthy life from that point on. So that's an interesting one. Slip-based pole. So that's a slip-based pole there. For those who aren't aware of them, some of you will be very happy with slip-based poles. You know all about them. It's a real wonderful, wonderful invention. And it's really that the light pole has a collar, it has bolts, and the wind load is taken by those bolts in the torque. And yet, if struck on the base, it's just shears across at a point where it's not going to kill or seriously injure the occupant of that vehicle. And so as a road safety auditor, you'll probably be given a set of designs at some point, and you might get the full design set. You might get 50 pages, 100 pages of geometric, long sections, cross sections. You'll get the pavement plan, the drainage plan. You'll get the lighting plan like it is here, and you'll look at that and you'll think, okay, we're going to get any visual deceit at night? Is it going to, are these going to be make people think the road goes a different way? You'll also be thinking, oh, gee, what light poles are they using? And what's this environment? Are they using slip-based poles? Are they using rigid poles? Are they using another type of pole? And trying to understand what the implications of that are. So let's take this little bit of road environment down there in Abbotsford, Richmond. What about if they were to say, hey, yeah, we're worried about vehicles leaving the road, so our design has this one as a slip-based pole. What would you say to that as a road safety auditor? When you're looking at the design, you go, okay, they're using a slip-based pole there. It hasn't been built yet. Imagine that you're seeing it as a design. What would you be saying? Oh, look at this. Marissa, 2 in, and I'll take those first 2 and give prizes.
I think we're going to run out of prizes, Ken.
Good. That's what I like to hear, because it means people are getting involved and coming up with good answers. And you've got to be quick here, it looks like. We've seen danger to pedestrian. Yeah, so we've got to think about where that falls. And overhead cables is a good one as well to have a look at as a road safety auditor. So tram lines, power lines, and where are they going to fall? Okay, so what we then have to do as a road safety auditor is think of all of this in context. And that's really, what we all need to really do across road design management and everything is think about context. But we as auditors think about our risks within context. So in this context, that slip-based poles would present a risk for pedestrians, for those power lines. It's probably not the appropriate treatment to be using at that location. There is this other type of pole, which is categorized as frangible. I will give a prize out if anybody can tell me the name of this type of pole. But what it does is instead of steering at the bottom, it captures the vehicle, as you can see, in a contained envelope. It is certainly more forgiving, and it is an impact absorbing pole. That's good knowledge. Well played. Impact absorbing, surprise there, please, Marissa. It contains it in an envelope. But your rules of thumb are low speed environments, especially if there's pedestrians and the like around, is rigid pole, because your speed is low of vehicles. And we're not going to see a lot of serious injury and fatality to the occupants of the vehicles. Their speed's low enough with that rigid pole. Medium speed environments, you're looking at these impact absorbing style poles, and high speed environments are certainly into your slip based poles. So again, as auditors, we can be injecting that thinking in and helping out. Now, a designer may come with absolutely good intentions and putting a slip based pole in an area where we're concerned it's going to land on a bus stop or an area where pedestrians are waiting and the like. So a couple of little tips here, and you'll see these little info things pop up. You can download an electronic copy of these notes, and if you click on these, you just get some little extra information snippets, videos of vehicles crashing into slip-based poles and the like. Some issues you'd look for as a road safety auditor: where are they going to fall? But also, if you're doing an existing road or a post-opening audit, as our auditor here, Max, is doing, he's out there with a colleague doing a post-opening audit of this roundabout, and they're just checking the height that these were installed. Because if you make that too low, well, too low is not as bad. Too high, vehicles snag on it, it's useless from a slip-based perspective. Too low is not great, but you can live a little bit with too low. And there's easily available information about the height it should be. So if they selected the right pole, where's it going to fall? What's the height of the shear plane? Now, I just use that as one example of just limitless possibilities of things we could be thinking about as auditors. But it's one where it's quite nice to understand the technical nature of that, but also the logical aspects of it. And this is what we want road safety auditors to be drilling into. It's one that I see come up a lot, especially that selection of slip-based or not, and where it would fall. So road safety audit is proactive. If you have a location with a significant crash history and you're asked to go and investigate that site, looking at all the crashes in detail, understanding what happened, you are doing what we call a black spot investigation. It is different to a road safety audit. They share a lot of the same thinking, and they are best done with people with the same sort of training and knowledge, but they are different processes. And a question that often comes up is, okay, should I, as a road safety auditor, then look at the crash history as part of my road safety audit? And the answer to that is, it's up to you. Some people don't like that, but it is up to you. Austroads avoids answering that definitively. And I have worked with road safety auditors on road safety audit teams who say, I do not want to see the crash history. And I've worked with auditors who say, yeah, absolutely, I want to see the crash history. The reason the ones say, I don't want to see the crash history at all, is often because we're doing a design stage road safety audit. And they say, what bloody use is the crash history? They're fundamentally changing this whole setup. Why would I be influenced by what's happened on a completely different road setup? I'm going to look at this new design and I'm going to imagine and predict what's going to happen. And that's what we're going to report. We're not going to be swayed by any crash history. Also, they'll often say, well, if its place doesn't have crashes, doesn't mean it's got no risk. So I'm not going to look at crash history. I don't care about that. So the ones who do like it will often say, well, I'm interested in, what users were involved. Is there anything I can learn from it that might help in this future design? And again, an existing conditions road safety audit, sometimes people will use it as a bit of an indication of where some risks are happening. But you don't use it to absolutely drive your road safety audit, because if you do that, you're doing a black spot investigation. It would just be supplementary information for you. Happy to answer questions on that. So a question that does appear to have come in from Ben, and thank you, Ben, isn't an existing conditions road safety audit reactive? So the answer to that is no, not necessarily. But it is a good question. I think it's a prize-worthy question there, Marissa. Okay. You may be asked to do a road safety audit because there is a concern at a site, an existing site, okay? So you might say that that's reacting to something, and that is reactive. The reactive that we're sort of talking about here is crash-based, okay? So it could be that residents have a concern with an area. It doesn't have any crashes, but they've got a concern, and that council engages a road safety audit team to go and look at it, okay? You could argue that that's reacting to the resident and their concerns, but it may not have that crash history, which is what we think of in that reactive sense. So that might be part of the confusion here. If there is an area that does have crashes, you may still be asked to do a road safety audit on it. In being absolutely pure, as I should be with a training course, you would say to your client in that circumstance, are you sure you want me to do a road safety audit, or would you like me to do a black spot investigation? If there's been one audit one crash at a location, maybe often they hit the media, or for some reason it's very, it's often when it hits the media, like there's been a bad crash. You can't really do a black spot investigation at a site with one crash, because a black spot investigation is looking for trends in crashes. Like, back when I started, to qualify for the federal black spot program, you needed 10 deaths at an intersection, okay? And when you've got 10 deaths, you've probably got another 20 serious injuries, okay? And what you're doing then is you're looking at those and you're saying, oh my God, I've got 15 right turn against crashes that all happen, in PM peak hour, right? Immediately from that, you're able to say, okay, we can work really on that. But when you've got one crash, you have no pattern, you have no trend to work on. So what you have to do is you have to logically look at risk associated with the road environment and your existing knowledge and your logical look at the site and say, those are the risks that are there. Okay. Yeah, 10 deaths, and like that just blows people's minds when we are now down to, or at one point in the last few years, it was like 2 crashes reported at a site qualified through the federal black spot program. That is an absolute tribute to the people who have been working on that program across the country for so long, that any site that has that many crashes and, that has been brought down to that. Now, that being said, there are an absolute ton of locations out there with very, very high crash numbers in a 5-year period. But people just can't think of answers for them often. You take your major, Springvale Junction, or your, the amount of crashes there are horrific, but people can't quite work out what to do. Anyway, road safety audit as a process, great. It's a really good process. I'm going to give you a 2-minute break in a second, but benefit cost ratio, 36:1 for a design stage, 6:1 for an existing road. I mean, 6:1, massively good investment. put money into that every day of the week. 36 to 1 is insanely good. Why do you think we get so much better for a design stage road safety audit compared to an existing road safety audit? Any guesses on that before I let you go for a quick break? Yeah, Tom's onto it first, and basically it's easier to change things in design, and they will change. People will change a design when it's on paper. Once they've poured the concrete and it's out there, it's a lot harder for people to change. They'll often do more minor fixes, warning signs, line marking, and those sort of things, rather than fixing the fundamentals. So we love to see designs go through this audit process because it's so beneficial. And existing areas where people have got concerns or they want that specialist review are still very, very valuable. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and then I think you're starting to get an idea of what a road safety audit is, but I'm going to give you a bit more clarity on that. So take 2 minutes, have a stretch, and then we'll get back into it. I think I'll get back into this, and thank you for all the people who are writing in there in the chat, and you've got to be quick, it looks like, with this group. Get your answers in there. Okay, so what is a road safety audit? I'm going to have to speed up a little bit here because I'm behind, as I always am, because I get so excited by different bits of this course. Okay, so what is a road safety audit? Well, let's turn to Austroads and find out what they have to say on a definition. Well, they give us a whole page. All right, I'm not going to read you a page. You can read the page yourself because, of course, you can download a copy of the Austroads Guide to Road Safety Part 6 freely from the Austroads website, as all Austroads guides are. They are free. You just need to create yourself a login, and there's wonderful information there. You should, if you aren't already, make sure you get onto that. But let me take one little bit of this. A road safety audit is a formal examination of a future road or traffic project or an existing road or road-related area in which an independent qualified team reports on a project's crash potential and actual safety performance respectively. All right, let me bold a few really important words here. It is formal. A road safety audit is a formal exercise. It's a set process. There's a way to present it. You sign it off at the bottom. You've got steps to follow. It's a formal process. Future road or traffic project, so that's designed, or the existing road or road-related area, independent. You cannot do a road safety audit of your own design. You cannot do a road safety audit if you are the project manager, or even if you are the overarching manager of an area where the project is happening within that sort of area. You can't be doing the road safety audit. You must be independent. You have to be qualified, and you're going through one of the important processes, doing a course, a recognized course, and then getting on your accreditation of that jurisdiction. I'll take you through all of that in our last module. And we're thinking about crash potential. So we want to ensure that we follow this safe system approach. Some of you have heard this 1,000 times, but I'm going to say it again in case anybody hasn't heard it, or just for more reinforcement. We are now in a space in the design, the management, the operation of the road system that we do everything we can to stop crashes happening. However, we acknowledge that even when we get everything right, people are still going to stuff up. They're going to make mistakes. And we need to then understand what is the severity of that. What's going to happen? And we have a responsibility as designers, as engineers, as auditors and the like. We do want road users to act as appropriately as possible, but we recognize there's limitations because, hey, they're human, and humans stuff up and do silly stuff. And that's, what we are designing our road network for currently. When we get to be able to design it for computers only and machines using the road, great, different different thing, different way to look at it, different way to design it. But for now and for quite a long time, it's humans we're designing for. Well, you can design a little bit for machines, but we won't get into that in this course. So really key principles. We're aiming at no death and serious injury. We know that's not going to happen tomorrow, but we've got to think and aim for that and stop just saying, well, you know, it's inevitable cost of transport that some of the community get killed or seriously injured. We challenge that whole premise. People make mistakes, we've got a shared responsibility, and we know that there's a certain amount of force people can take. So, Marissa, I think we're going to pop up a little quiz if we do have one. Paul, now remember, you're not being marked on this, everybody. It's just one to keep you interactive, keep you going. It should have popped up on your screen by now. Multiple choice. And we've covered off some of this. And the last question we haven't covered, unless you've been to some of my other courses. Let's go. I'll let you do that, and I'll have a read of the chat and see if there's anything, Marissa, that I need to cover.
We have a few comments, Ken, and I've lost my prizes in the background just due to some IT difficulties. So I'm still very much giving away prizes, but anyway, we do have a few comments. One from Tom. Some consultancies claim they can do RSAs of their own design as they are separate teams.
Yeah. So that is something that's come up pretty much my whole time in road safety auditing, 20 plus years in all of this. And we've never got to a point where we are absolutely definitive that like a consultancy could not do a road safety audit on their own design. But I think it's a really important one to explore, because I say that, okay, you need to, with absolute definitivity, prove independence. Okay, what I would do if I was expert witness, there'd been a death or a serious injury on the road and a road safety audit had been done by the consultancy that did the design, I would say, well, okay, who's their boss? And they'd go, well, or I go, okay, well, who's their boss's boss? And it would just be finding the person that covers them both off. And I go, you're not independent, right? Now, that would be one way to do it. But that being said, you know, I think there's enough integrity in the industry that people are able to not, you know, not be influenced by some of these things. Well, sorry, I should explain why I'm talking about the boss of the boss. So you can conjure these nightmare scenarios where that boss goes, our design team is behind on this project. Our client is on our ass about it. Okay, we do not have time to go back and redesign. When you audit this, okay, only signs and line changes. That is all we have time for, right? Now that's, I'm intentionally creating a, scenario, but that's the kind of thing we get concerned about. As I say, I think there's enough integrity that we don't quite do that. But for my mind, like, why would you even do it? Like, there's so many independent auditors available to be able to reach in and do that. Anyway, as I say, Austroads just talks about if you're going to do it, get some really good documentation behind you before you're going to do it. And if you're procuring road safety audits, just write it in. It can't be part of the same organization if that's what, if you're worried about these things. How'd we go with our poll?
All right, we've got most answers. We've got a few more, but
yeah, let's close it. I'm running behind.
All right, let's close it. Share the results. Okay.
Okay. We have no possible way of telling who answered what. So an audit is another name for check against standard. Well, oh gee, there's one person I need to have a long chat to.
Slip of the finger, let's hope.
Okay. No, it is not another name for check against standards. Everybody's on to that. You can't audit your own design. Well done. So yeah, which is finally not considered a formal element of the safe system. So I didn't really cover this in much detail. So it's absolutely fair that you, because the safe system does have these different formal elements of the roads and roadsides, the people, the speeds, the vehicles, and attitude is not particularly one of them. It would be embedded in people, but not common principles, elimination of mistakes on the road. Yeah, we recognize humans and mistakes are intertwined, and we're not, we would love to eliminate mistakes on the road. We're just realistic in saying we're not going to do that. We're going to minimize and manage. And 44 kilometers an hour for Usain Bolt. And this leads me in nicely to the next few slides. I'm going to get rid of that. And oh, no, I think we both hit that at the same time. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, so we need to understand how much force the human body can handle before it breaks. And I've used the Usain Bolt analogy a lot, and other people use it as well now, which is great. And because I think what we're saying is, if Usain Bolt can run 44 kilometers an hour, and you park a car at the end of his running lane, and he slams into that, will he survive? And the answer is yes. He will most likely survive, and he will most likely recover to lead a normal, healthy life. He is built like a fridge, so he's going to handle some force. Pick us up and throw us at a car at 44 kilometers an hour. We're not as likely to survive. And definitely our parents or people more frail are definitely not likely to survive. But we evolved to kind of run into stuff off the speed of our own legs and survive. There's the great man himself. He comes in somewhat up this curve, which is the curve of collision speed, not speed limit, collision speed, and the chance that that collision results in death. So this is actually for a car hitting a pedestrian, which is very slightly different physics to Usain Bolt running into the car itself, but nonetheless pretty close. And yeah, so we see there that for our entire community, which is this blue line, not just Usain Bolt, this is everybody. When we have very low speed, 10, 20 kilometer per hour vehicles hitting pedestrians, most people survive. When it happens at 60 or 70 kilometers per hour, most people are killed. There's going to be, situations at either end which are anomalies, but that's the general trend. This is what we're designed for. Yeah, he survives.
Yeah, there's got to be a few broken ribs in there.
Yes, yeah, he did break some ribs actually, and we came back and won the gold medal the next year. So, we can survive off the speed of our own legs. But we, of course, are propelling things and propelling ourselves around the transport network beyond what we were ever evolved to survive. And so we need to have a think about that. We have this information for some other crash types. We have side impact crashes. So that's the bullet vehicle. The bullet vehicle is the one that does the damage. Target vehicle. So this is bullet vehicle speed down here. Bullet vehicles around 40 or 50 kilometer per hour in a right angle crash. It's fairly survivable. Up at sort of 80 kilometers per hour, it's not survivable for the occupants of the target vehicle. And head-on crashes, it's somewhere around 70 kilometers per hour speed of each vehicle, where we see things go really bad really quickly. So in a road safety sort of audit and in safe system thinking, we talk about a threshold speed. And it's this line here. It's 30 kilometers an hour for pedestrians, 50 kilometers per hour for side impact, 70 kilometers per hour for head-on crashes. That's where things start to go really bad really quickly after that speed for those crash types. So that's what we talk about. But is that within a safe system threshold speed for the crash type we're worried about? There's some safe system snippets, links. If you download the PDFs, you can have a look and read in a bit more detail about this. And there's lots and lots of continued research going on to this, and but these are a pretty good starting point. I've given you a few more here, and a few more sort of impact threshold speeds for different crash types, and you may be referring back to these at different points. Okay, so we're sort of getting our head around what a road safety audit is. The old model of road safety auditing just said, okay, find the risks in the design or the existing road, make some assessment of how bad, how much of a risk is this, and then recommend some changes. Nowadays, we have to do a little bit more. We still identify those risks, we still assess them, make a risk rating, but we sort of consider that safe system tolerance. When we're assessing that risk, are we talking about fatalities here, or are we just talking about minor injuries? And I'll show you why, even though we assessed risk back here, it's slightly different. And then we want to recommend safe system aligned mitigation measures. So things that are going to actually see fundamental risk reduction. The easiest way for me to explain this is just run you through an example from start to sort of finish of an audit finding and recommendation, meeting the Australians guide. So here we go. This is a new intersection being proposed. It's a design. There is no intersection there at the moment. This is a new intersection coming in. It's got a left turn lane here. It's got a through lane here. This is a high-speed road. This is a 80 or 100 km/h road. And you can see there, it's all set up, being designed, it's all looking pretty good. The concern the audit team has is this. This is not that site. This is another site, but we're looking at, okay, they've been able to see this from the design and they're concerned about it. Car pulls up and it's waiting to turn right out of here. They're looking up there, they see that truck and they see there's a white car sitting on its shoulder, okay? So they come up a little bit further and they're ready to go and they go, okay, the truck's turning left, that white car is going to go past and I'm going to be able to turn. And as the white car goes past, the whole time there was another silver car being hidden behind that truck. It's what we call a dynamic visual obstruction. The truck was the dynamic visual obstruction. And so what we're doing there is identifying from a design a risk like that. So you can see there, here is an audit finding. So we've seen the design and we've gone, I'm worried though, if they build that, this scenario is going to happen and we're going to see crashing. So the first thing that I like to see about the writing up of this audit finding is that they have snipped that design, they've plonked it in there and they've drawn some stuff on it. That just makes me so happy because you don't need to read all of this to know what the issue is. You don't need to read it to understand where in the design it is. You can see that. It's so clear. That is good audit practice. If you can snip a design or you can put a photo in, do it. But then you get into the actual writing of it. And it's taken me about 15 years worth of sort of teaching road safety audit to finally come up with a particular formula that seems to work well. The red is the issue. So for this intersection, blah, 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 vehicles using the left turn lanes may create a dynamic visual obstruction for motorists at the hold line looking for through vehicles. Then the yellow is the crash, okay? This increases the likelihood of right through side impact crashes involving vehicles turning out of the sidewalk. You spell out the crash that you're concerned about. Even if it's blindingly obvious to you, you spell out the crash that you are concerned about. Okay? If you can't actually articulate a crash, it's not a road safety audit issue. If you're worried about drainage, off the side of the road in the carriageway, flooding houses, okay? What is the crash? Can't find the crash, it's not a road safety audit issue. Maybe a drainage issue, and maybe you want to shoot an email to the designer and say, hey, I reckon you're going to have some significant drainage issues. If you can't relate it specifically to a crash, not a road safety audit issue. Then the blue is any factors that may increase or decrease the risk associated with this site in this context. The volume of vehicles on both roads is low, which reduces the likelihood of the crash. However, the proportion of larger vehicles turning left into Epsom Barnawartha Road is high, which increases the chance of dynamic visual obstruction occurring. And the last thing is any standards or guidelines that are applicable. You don't have to do this, okay? But if you know that that doesn't meet a standard or a guideline, this is where you would say. Now, this one, interestingly, the audit team has sort of done something which isn't as common, but it's decent practice to do it. The design is consistent with Austroads and VicRoads design guidance. The auditors believe it still presents a safety issue. So there you go. They're already going, yeah, we know you've met standards here. We're still concerned. Okay, that's an interesting one. So that's a good, nice write-up of an audit finding. Issue, crash, risk factors, standards or guidelines if applicable. Now, if you want to give yourself the best chance at passing this course, I suggest when you write up your audit findings that are going to get marked, you follow this formula, because that's what our markers are looking for. This is very much, as you start road safety auditing, you should be following this formula for all your findings. Yeah, maybe after you're experienced, you might start to play around with things a bit, but this is a very this is how we write up an audit finding. So then we need to give it a risk rating. So we've explained it. We need to risk rate it. I mean, is this low risk? Is this high risk? What are we talking about? And the formula for risk is the chance of the crash, the likelihood, multiplied by the severity of how bad it's going to be. Now, for those who have done safe system assessments, we extract exposure out of likelihood. And you can see here, actually, go to the next page here. You can see here, this includes exposure, which we added in the most recent thing to just clarify that. But this is straight out of the Austroads Guide to Road Safety Part 6, which we've updated since earlier versions, because I'm never involved in the first one back, 25, 30 years ago when it first came out, and I've never liked it. And so this time I made sure we updated. And what we can see there is that you try to find, okay, you're imagining a crash that could happen. So on this one, we're imagining that dynamic visual obstruction, that side impact crash. We're saying, well, how often is that crash going to happen? Is it going to happen once every quarter, or is it going to be, more than once every 7 years? When it does happen, what are we talking about? Going to be insignificant, just some property damage, or is it going to kill somebody, or where does it sit? And then you find your corresponding risk. So, maybe once a quarter, insignificant, we put that at medium. Or, 7 years, insignificant, we call it negligible. And you find this corresponding risk. And you see this line here, anything to the right of that, we're very concerned by. Anything to the left of that, we're still concerned by. But if we have a high risk here versus a high risk here, this one is more concerning because of that FSI, which stands for fatal serious injury. Okay, and that the objective of the safe system is to eliminate that fatal serious injury. We don't want it, but if we had to, people having moderate injuries that they recover from is more acceptable. Now, Marissa, are there any questions coming in at this stage?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a couple. Would you reference speed limit which impact consequences?
Yeah, you would definitely. Yep, you would be. That would be a big influence on the severity of crashes or consequence of crashes. Is the speed things are going to happen at? Absolutely. So speed limit, operating speeds, or your prediction on speeds can be very useful and can be added in there. And anything else?
Yeah, and could you use crash data to help calibrate likelihoods?
So be careful with that. Be very careful with that. And it goes back to my saying stuff I talked about earlier, which is that, okay, like if we take just the example we're working on, I mean, it doesn't make any sense because there is no intersection there. So the crash history is there are no crashes. Like, okay, so we can't use it at all for that. It's a new intersection. Also, we're fundamentally changing intersections often. So it might be there, might have some sort of crash history or no crash history, and changes are happening. So is that relevant to what you're predicting for the future? Existing conditions, maybe, but anybody who's sort of got a bit of stats knowledge knows that we have all sorts of funny things going on with very small numbers in amongst massive numbers, and it's all, yeah, so be careful with it, but it may give you a little bit of an indication.
Okay, but how can you measure likelihood? Every 3 or 7 years sounds like a guess. Okay.
There is a degree of subjectivity to it, absolutely. And you'll start to calibrate your risk rating levels. So this is no different to doing a risk rating and an occupational health and safety risk rating or any other type of risk rating where you gather information and intel, then you use professional judgment to make that call on it. And one thing that I can almost guarantee is that we will have the bulk of the people on this over risk rate. The reason for that is that you get very, like when you look at it as you are worried about something, you can't unsee that and you really feel, oh my God, that's going to happen. And okay, the reality is if we take, all of the roads and all of the intersections in Australia, we're getting a horrific number of people killed, but it is only 1,000 people across all of that network and all of those intersections, all of those issues. So it immediately calibrates you back a little bit in how much of that we're seeing. Serious injuries is about 5 times that, but even still, when the expanse of the network we have, it is a relatively low likelihood of things happening. But what we'll do, the reality of this is that there is no right or wrong in risk rating. And you'll notice when you get your marks back, nobody will say your risk rating was wrong. They will say your risk rating is sort of very far from what industry would risk rate this. It's not wrong, but yeah. So what I would do is I'll sort of show you on this one. So we've gone, so they've gone, they've gone rare, serious, and a medium risk. The medium risk is FSI. It's in that fatal serious injury range. So they're saying, once every 7 years, a crash like this will happen because of that issue, or more, 7 years or more. When it does happen, it's going to be serious. They're going to hospital. Now, debatable as to whether it would be fatal and what you think the operating speeds would be and the speed limit, as somebody pointed out. Medium. Now, I like to sort of work back as a sanity check on risk. And I say to myself, rightio, I have, enough knowledge of where the death and serious injuries occurring on our road network, how many deaths and serious injuries we see at these types of locations. I'm going to work my way back and say, right, okay, how many serious injuries do we get at these types of intersections because of those issues? Is that, characteristic somewhat aligned with what I would expect here if I came back in 5 years, 10 years time? And I think that that's sort of reasonable, for a road like this. So you can sanity check yourself by working backwards. Because if you've said, for example, I think that this is likely, fatal, extreme risk. If you come back in 5 years' time, they build it exactly the way it is, you're thinking there's going to be a minimum 5 people killed, or sorry, could be more than 5 fatal crashes as a result of that at this location because they built it exactly that way because of that particular issue. Now, I would say to that is over risk rated compared to what industry would say on this. Anyway, but I keep ticking on. And Marissa, hopefully you're getting assignments ready for everybody. After we've risk rated it, we need to suggest how can we minimize that risk? How do we bring that risk down? Okay, and we can do that in many, many ways. So how do we help the person receiving this report know which would be better to do and which would be, okay, but, not the best? Well, we do that by putting a little categorization of any treatment into either a primary treatment or a supporting treatment. Now, I want you to think of these as little sort of buckets or bags of treatments. So in that primary treatment, there might be a whole lot of different things that they could pull out and use. In the supporting, there might be a whole lot of different things. It's just that the primary ones are our big ticket items. They virtually eliminate the potential for fatal or serious injury crashes occurring associated with severe crash types. Types is the important word there, crash types. Okay? Supporting treatments are good, like they reduce risk, but they're not expected to virtually eliminate the potential for fatal or serious injury occurring. So let's have a look at this. And we go back to our one here. Implement measures to reduce speed and or angle at this intersection. This could be achieved with a roundabout. It's a primary treatment. If this cannot be achieved, implement measures to improve sightlines at this location, such as increasing the offset of the left turn lane, opening up sightlines, supporting treatment. Relocating the hold line forward, provided that can be done safely. Supporting. Okay? You could have 3 primary treatments put in there if you want as your recommendations. You could just have 1 primary treatment. You could just have supporting treatments. Okay? It's just helping whoever reads this know which the big ticket, the best ones to do could be. But you'll note there that there's a few things. They've given some options. I like that. Some auditors aren't so keen on giving options. They just say, no, this is what you should do. I like doing that because I think it's like, it's not our project. We don't know all of their constraints. And in fact, they're probably locked into a budget and they're locked into a land area. And the idea of that roundabout, while it is the primary treatment, is really going to fundamentally eliminate this risk. They probably can't afford to do it and they probably can't get it to happen, right? But I don't want to ignore that, but I do want something else there. And so, increase the offset of the turn lane, relocate the hold line, provided it can be done safely. So, they are still, as a designer, going to have to do some thinking around this, but we're helping them along the way. Now, you might say to yourself, well, hang on a second, increase the offset of the left turn lane. So, move this down here, okay? And we're going to have this extra bit. And so that will mean there'll be this nice hatched area or something here. So that sight line, that dynamic visual obstruction has been removed. So why isn't that a primary treatment? Well, that is because it's not addressing, so it is reducing the chance of that crash due to that particular issue, but you can still have a side impact crash at that speed. Okay, that's the crash type. We're not reducing the severity of that crash type. We're reducing the chance of it happening, but it can still absolutely happen if somebody's distracted or, you know, may just make a bad choice for one reason or another. Or as further, no. I just had was reviewing a colleague, two colleagues who had done a road safety audit, and they actually were very nice and extra helpful to the designers because they sketched up this little one to open up that sight line for the dynamic visual obstruction issue, and you know, made it a cycle facility as well. I thought that was quite a neat little way to do it. Anyway, that was in the site. So a little tip, you know, for something to be a primary treatment, it's really got to, you know, address the consequence of the crash through speeds, angles, barrier systems, or the like, or it's got to virtually eliminate the possibility of that happening, but you've got to account for human error and stuff. So it's very hard to get that second one in play. You're probably going to have some challenges getting your head around this primary supporting. You're going to have a quiz later on. It's going to help you with some of that. You're going to get more examples. You're going to get some practice and you're going to get some feedback. So yeah, we'll work you through that. So then in your road safety audit, you'll always leave some blank spaces there for somebody to deal with that audit report. Like we hand it over, we want them to do something with it. We want them to look at this and go, oh yeah, that's an issue. Okay, we should do something about that. Or no, they can say, I disagree. Okay, that's fine. That's up to them. We don't have any legislative power as road safety auditors. You know, we're not there. They don't have to follow what we say. I mean, it's not a good look in, you know, in court when there's a road safety audit report that said something and they didn't do anything, but they don't have to. But my tip for anybody who doesn't follow what a road safety auditor has put down is to just justify why you're not doing it. And then that's seen as okay. So there was an example, and I'm probably just going to jump through this one. I won't read it all out, but I love the fact that straight away I go, okay, I know what the issue here is. The 2.9 metre wide right turn lane. That's going to cause some sideswipe issues and possibly some rear end issues. And that's because they snipped the design. I know exactly where it is. They pointed at it. I know what the concern is. I don't have to read this. And that's really important. They do, though, if you read that in detail, break it up into those specific recipe or formula elements that I talked about, the issue, the crash specified, the risk factors. And then this one actually has some discussion about what Austroads actually requires, because that doesn't meet standards or guidelines, Austroads guide. To road design, that one does not meet it. So, you know, they're pointing it out. I'll jump through that because we're a little bit out of time. There's another Wally. Keep your eyes peeled for Wallies. Yeah, so, I mean, what we often see road safety auditors doing is very poor practice in terms of writing up a road safety audit. Right turn bay is too narrow. Right turn bay is too narrow for what? Which right turn bay? You know, I've got so many unknowns about that. That's just going to be annoying for whoever gets this report. Okay, this is better. We're talking about which one it is and then what some of the issues are. But this one, which is what was shown before, is you know, this is the comprehensive, well thought through, well worded, nice snip of the design, well articulated. And it's got all of those elements: the issue, the crash, the risk factors, and the standards and guidelines, if applicable. Follow that formula. All right, so road safety audit. You know, it's a term that's sometimes used for things that it shouldn't be used for. checks against standards and guidelines, making judgment calls on the overall merits of projects or not. Like, those are not really uses of road safety audits, not substituting for normal quality assurance processes and the like. I'm not going to read through all of this. You can read it in your own time. This, again, is straight out of the Austra's Guide to Road Safety Part 6. But, that road safety audit, as we've clarified, is a specific process and it's got that specific lens on it. I'm happy to answer questions as we go through this course on it, or of course you could email me at any point. A road safety auditor is a problem finder. And this is a very hard thing for a lot of people to get out of the problem solving mentality. What I often see is people write in the audit finding something like, this intersection should be signalized. I'm like, whoa, hey, okay, that you have obviously found some issue and then solved it all in one, because that's not the issue, right? That's a solution to some issue you need to articulate. Our job is to find the issue, and then we can suggest some stuff. That's added benefit, added bonus for the receiver of that report that we're helping them try and solve this. We are the problem finders, okay? And I just popped this up in our last couple of minutes. Road safety audits, design reviews, because a lot of you might be thinking, well, I get people to check my designs. And, there's some overlap there. There certainly is, but certainly road safety audits, find other things, checking things that maybe conform with standards and concerns with those. Safe system assessments overlap as well. They've got some similar characteristics. We've got safety and design, which is a different thing. We've got Disability Discrimination Act audits and reviews. So, we are seeing quite a few different ways to look for safety in projects and the like. But, at the moment, they all are fairly, they're overlapping, but they all have their own unique characteristics. So what can we audit? Well, anything that interacts with a road is pretty good way to sum it. Big projects, small projects, construction sites, innovative stuff. Even car parks, absolutely, they can be road safety audited. Shared path facilities, off-road bike path facilities, can all be road safety audited. Marissa, do I have time to run through a very, this final one? I'd like to do it.
Yeah, why not? Absolutely.
Okay. I'll do this and then stop and you can give them their assignments.
Absolutely.
Okay. Here's a road, an intersection. And you can see it's an unsealed road over here, unsealed road there, and we've got, the main road, high speed. And what they're planning to do here, the project that they're planning to do is to formalise the intersection and seal that unsealed road, formalise that unsealed road. You can see it sealed there in the future. Without knowing much and without seeing things, from the ground, somebody pop in the chat. What do you think was the cause of a significant increase in crashes after they did this upgrade work? They improved the intersection, they sealed the road, nice curb and channel there, you can see. Why did we see a significant increase in crashes? Okay, Robin has got it first. Gee, others were in there. So amongst a few things here, the big one was the creation of a see-through effect. So when vehicles were approaching from this, and it was like this, it was kind of obvious that the road changed. It was very different. As soon as it became like this, it all looked like it continued straight through. Now, yes, there was an increase in traffic volume along here and a few other things which caused some trouble, but we did, see a significant increase and members of the community killed and seriously injured after these upgrade works. And the thing was that there was justification for not doing any road safety audit because they were upgrading it and they were meeting all the standards and guidelines. Well, that's unacceptable. And like people in our community lost their lives because of that decision. That's horrific. So that's it there from them. That's the new bit. Don't worry about the burnout marks. You can see that's the new bit. This is the old bit. You can see it's straight. It became sealed. It's got the run of power poles. It's got the characteristics that we know are going to cause see-through effect crashes. Okay, I think that's a point. Yeah. Oh, well, Stephen's got a good thing. He's jumped into, okay, well, what could we have done about that? What could we have suggested as road safety auditors? If we were back there and we went, whoa, you see all that, you formalize that, you're really going to exacerbate your see-through effect. What could we do? And yeah, Stephen's talked about rumble strips. We could offset the intersection. No, hang on, would you offset it that side or the other side? We would definitely offset it that side. People know that? You're going to offset it, intersection, offset it this way. You could offset it like that. Why do you offset it like that? Because if you offset it the other way, the left-turning vehicle comes out and pops in the through lane and it's messy. So they're facing a hazard board and the bush, and then you could do that. You could do a splitter island. A splitter island would have done a wonderful job in reducing that. You could have done approach rumble strips. You could have done, active advance warning signs. You could have, aimed at the roundabout. Many things could have been done. So I think that's probably a good point to leave it. I'll come back to types of road safety audit at the start of the next module because I want to make sure we've got enough time to talk you through this assignment and help you have a look at the learning management system. So now, Marissa, do you want me to bring that up or would you like to bring that up?
I'm happy to bring it up, Ken. I've got some things I prepared earlier.
Right.
Let's just bring up the correct page. Sorry, just give me. Okay, can you see my screen, Ken?
I can now. I was trying to read your email very quickly, but I didn't quite get there.
Nothing too exciting, I promise you.
Okay, this is the learning management system, eh?
Yeah, so this is our amazing learning management system. So this is our course. If you've logged in, you would be familiar with this page. We have a number of folders we've already set up. We have some reference documents and resources in here that you're welcome to have a flick through online. We have some course information here, the agenda and the Zoom document as you would have already received. Scrolling down into module 1, we have module 1 videos. And in here are some videos that you would have seen, the unfortunate man who broke his ribs and some things you've seen through the webinar today and some that you haven't. We have an example research assignment here, which I'll talk you through in a moment. I'll come back to. We have the presentation slides here that you are welcome to reference at any point. And we also have the module 1 quiz. We encourage you to complete the quiz as soon as you can, probably after this session ends, while everything's still fresh in your memory, but you do have, there is going to be a quiz for most of the modules, I think. So the sooner you do that, the better, while all the information is still fresh in your mind. And in this lovely folder, we've got the research topic and we have lots of information in here. So we're going to assign you a topic at random, which I'll show you in a moment, to create a wonderful little, have a little wonderful little assignment on. So you can create a fact sheet, a cartoon, a short video, a TikTok video, which we've had in the past, a podcast audio, and I think I remember someone mentioning something about interpretive dance. So if we get one of them, I think Ken will deliver your prize himself. But there will be a few prizes for the most creative and engaging assignments. So we encourage you to put in as much effort as you can, but you don't have to create a masterpiece. Don't spend too much time consuming, too much of your time developing this. And we do have an example here. So if I click on this link, it'll take us back to the page we saw earlier. And we do have a little example here that you can reference. Before I assign the topics, do you want to add anything there, Ken? Or
I think you've done well. I'll just reiterate there that we want you to just research a road safety topic. And we do this because there's just so much out there. We thought, we don't have time to go through all of these. At least they'll find one topic and we'll be able to share those and people will be able to see others. And you can have a bit of fun with it. You can just make a fact sheet and just get a tick and off you go. Like, you'll pass, no worries. If you're wanting, if you're gunning for prizes and things like that, that's when you want to put in that bit of extra effort, make a video or draw an exciting cartoon. But we want to see you research the issue, point out some road safety specifics around it, and like what road safety auditors might be thinking about with this specific topic. And then what do? Upload it?
Yeah, and then upload it. So if we go back into research topic under module 1, you can upload here. We've got add your submission. You can upload it there, PDF, Word document, PowerPoint, whatever you like. Just upload that. We will create a
100 meg limit or something. So if you're going to go massive video or something, you have to Dropbox it and put it in a Word document or something.
Yeah, if you have any issues uploading anything, just send it or contact us at our training at Safe System Solutions, and we'll help you out there. But and we will create a folder. We'll upload everyone's assignment so you're able to view each other's, which will be great to see. It's a good way to learn all the other different topics. What I will do now is I'm going to use my fancy generator and assign you all. Now, if you can't read this too well, don't worry. You don't need to write anything down because I will send it through via email. So let's tell me when to stop. All right. How about that? Can we see that? Looks good.
You better take a copy of it before you lose it.
I will. As I said, you don't need to write this down, anyone. I will email it through and I will pop it on the LMS.
I think there's a few people off the bottom of the screen who didn't even make it there. So lots of exciting things there. I can see some we've sort of covered a little bit already, track lane in there, but we've got, curbing near barriers, which is a, really interesting topic with vaulting, and we've got active advance warning signs. We've got freeway ramp metering. They're the lights you see trying to get on the freeway when there's that. We've got school crossing, super elevation, retroreflectivity of signs, overtaking lanes. So, we want to take this topic and think, well, what can we find out about it? What would road safety auditors maybe need to be thinking about? And gathering the information. If you go, I can't find anything on this topic, well, Google will give you stuff. ChatGPT will probably give you some good stuff as well. But if you can't find stuff, get in contact. Also, sometimes some jurisdictions will use a slightly different term for some of this, but like dwell on red, rest on red. You should be able to find stuff. We look forward to getting some creative assignments, chuck some pictures in, get in contact if you're struggling.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a wonderful team behind the scenes here. So any technical questions or admin, logistical issues, please just let us know and we'll be happy to help.
Awesome.
Yeah, great. And don't forget to tune in a couple minutes early before module 2, and we'll give out a few more prizes with our trivia, won't we, Ken?
Yes, I'm looking forward to those trivia questions you're going to ask. Flash mob, if you get a flash mob going what did Tom get? Roundabouts versus traffic signals. Very special prize coming your way. I'll definitely drive it down there.
If you're organising a flash mob, Tom, I'm coming.
Yeah, I'll be part of it. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you just before our next session on Thursday, is it?
Yes, Thursday, 2 o'clock.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.